Hey guys, and welcome to Saints TV, Thursday night. We know what time that is. That means the teams are out, and it's probably one of the more important Thursday nights in a while to see what Richo comes up with and what changes happen after last week's debacle, particularly that third quarter where we conceded 9 goals to 1 and let Brisbane run away with it. I'm genuinely surprised straight off the bat, genuinely surprised that Armitage and Nunes, their names are not present in the outs at all. I think Jack Nunes having 8 disposals and really being in terrible form outside of just this game alone. The fact that he doesn't make it in the outs, and Marsh, who I thought was okay, gets pinned is a disgrace. Armitage as well. I mean, if you see the likes of Steele coming back in, hopefully, I mean, it's an extended bench. We've got 6 names there that look like they're coming in, and only 2 outs from what I can tell. So there's a bit of change there to be done, but I guess there could be more outs. So Nunes might survive, he might not. But I think based on the last month of football and even before that, he definitely needs a rest. He's played 122 games in a row, and definitely needs a rest in my eyes. In terms of the other ends, you've got Steele, you've got Patton, I think deservedly so. He's played really well for Sandringham in the last month, particularly the last game he had 23 or 24 disposals. Before that, 27 disposals, so he's really been in good form. And every time he plays, he uses the ball well, he covers the ground well, he runs hard, he makes space, he tries to do something when he has the disposal, unlike a lot of players on the weekend who just got the ball just to rake a possession and get the statistics up. Caulfield as well, looking good. Apparently he trained really well today, and another player that hasn't really stood up for us just yet, but I'm really confident if he can get a run of games ahead of the likes of David Armitage, who's a servant of the club, and he's done his time. It's not his choice that he's playing, but I think it's Richo's choice that Caulfield's not playing, and we need to be able to get games into these guys like Hunter Clark, which I'm glad not to see him being dropped. Caulfield's, the Pattons, we need to get players like that. Langlands, who could debut on the weekend, he's a shock one there. And obviously Sam Rowe, who we've not talked about very much this season, getting him when we lost Dylan Roberton, and Jake Carlisle was injured at the time. But I think with John O'Marsh being dropped and having no one apart from Rowe as a key defender there, I think maybe we're looking to trial Rowe. And he's a big unit. He hasn't played in a while though, and I don't know how much we need tools in the back line against Richmond, because they really just have Lynch. They don't really have a lot of tools. That's the thing that everyone knows about Richmond is they play the small game. They want to get the ball to ground. They want to use their tackling, their pace, their pressure to get turnover goals. And I guess if you look at it, that's what happened against Brisbane. They scored so many snaps. I can't remember that many set shots that Brisbane had where they just bombed it into the 50 and roved. And Cameron was the best at it. They've got a number of small forwards that can do that. So it's a bit of a worry for me. And if you look at their ends, I'll just quickly go through them. They've got Asprey, Jaden Short, Kane Lambert, Shane Edwards, Ivan Soldo, Trent Cotchin, Shai Bolton. So they've got 6 ins there that are very strong, and we're going to have to be super switched on in this game. And it's Matty's match. I don't know, is this the game that really sets the tone for Richo? If we don't respond after the heat that we've copped this week, the heat that Richo's copped from outside of the football club internally as well, with our president and a number of different people coming out and saying this needs to be a performance, and even Rewalt saying he wants to see 10 wins before the end of the season to see him have a chance at surviving. D'Alessandro thinking that Jack Nunes needs to be dropped. A lot of these figureheads that we've had around the club for years and years gone by, they're suddenly coming out and making a comment about this, and they clearly see something wrong. I've heard rumours that Brad Scott, who got sacked from North Melbourne, is as good as done for the coaching position next year for St Kilda. I'm really hoping that's a a bad rumor, and I don't like spreading rumors, but I'm a bit worried that this might be true, but remains to be seen. We've still got Brett Ratton, but apparently he's very close with a lot of other people in terms of the Carlton job again, but I doubt he'll go back there after being sacked the way he did for Mick Malthouse, unless he's very forgiving. But I wouldn't mind us looking at the guys like Lenny Hayes at GWS, Robert Harvey at Collingwood. There's a number of players there that, coaches there that are greats of the club, but they've also gotten a lot of knowledge in successful clubs, GWS being one, Collingwood being another. So it'd be great to see them. But in terms of this week, it's a non-negotiable. We need to play well. We need to just look like a team. We need to be clean with the fucking ball. Last week was an absolute disgrace, and I hope that a lot of the players looked at the media, read the comments on Saints TV, read the comments on threads on Big Footy, and realised how much that hurt a lot of the support. And I think that game almost hurt more than the Port Adelaide game. The Port game we were done and dusted pretty much from the first bounce. Whereas this game, in that third quarter, it was almost like a sinking ship, and everyone in the stadium kind of had a realization that, wow, we're really not that good, are we? And it just, you don't want to feel like that and see people leaving and the comments online. And I hate posting negative stuff. This week has actually been, for this page and for me posting on it, one of the hardest weeks for me to pick what I want to post. When we're winning, it's great. You're posting positive things. Everyone's loving the club and commenting and liking. But then even when you try to post something positive, everyone's kind of like, oh, yeah, but how shit were we on the weekend? You can't even get past it. So it's affected the page a little bit in terms of the engagement, but I hope it doesn't affect the support this weekend. We need to get out there. And when you look at, recent games against Richmond, they haven't been bad games. Our best one being 2017, where we just were ridiculously good and we scored a lot of goals. But since then, they've beaten us, but not by a lot. We played them at the G last year and we did pretty well. And I think we played them another time and got spanked. But they've not been in good form. And just because they're getting players back doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be on top of their game. We got 2 players back last week in Jake Carlisle and Dan Hanbury, and that what I thought and what a lot of other Saints fans thought was going to be, they come in, they dominate, and we win easily. And that didn't happen. So all of these changes for Richmond, although they are with good players, that doesn't mean from the first game that they're going to be switched on. They might need 3 or 4 games in a row to get some sort of continuity between each other, because they've all been out for long term. It hasn't been 1 or 2 weeks. They've been long stretches of injuries. And we're getting second game into Dan Hanbury, second game into Jake Carlisle, and hopefully a lot of the players that played last week that are hurting, which is what Seb Ross said, they're all hurting. Jaron Geary said that apparently Richo stepped aside for the review and let the players run it and let them talk to each other honestly about what they could have done better. We've heard this all before, though. It doesn't matter. I can talk all day about, the coaches stepped aside, it was different, the players talked to each other, and, they shared some home truths and all this shit, but it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, what do we care about? We care about the results. We want to see it on Sunday. We want to see them run out. I want to see them smash Richmond into the ground. I don't care if we lose, but I want to see intensity. The second half of last week was the worst football I've seen us play in 2 years. Honestly, everything Brisbane did, yes, it went right, and they kicked goals from everywhere. They were good, but they made it happen because they had the energy, they had the enthusiasm. We had none of that. We had no passion, no enthusiasm, no execution. It's all good trying to tackle the house down, but sooner rather than later, I hope our coaches realise we actually need skillful players that can use the ball. You can't win premierships off pressure. Even the Bulldogs in 2016, although it was pressure, they knew how to execute. They had very good ball users in McRae, Bontempelli, in Caleb Daniel, Johannisen. They had players that can kick and run. Richmond, exactly the same in 2017. We are trying to mimic all of that, but without the skill. We need to get the skill, and that's why I think the likes of Patton, Caulfield, Langlands, White, McKenzie needs more of a go. These sort of players, they can use the ball, and although McKenzie was slaughtered last week, I'm glad that he hasn't been dropped, because that would be the worst thing Richo could have done. We need to back the players. He needs to show that he trusts them, and the worst thing he could have done was drop heaps of them because of one game. But with, in regards to Nunes and Armo and all that, those are players that I can't see it in our finals team. When you think of naming a finals team, do you put Nunes down? I don't. I wouldn't want him to go into a final. I know I'm being harsh, but on paper, I can't see that position there. I can see a Patton. I can see a young Patton. I can see, Geelong they would play Patton over Nunes every day of the week. And they've played so many youngsters, and they're all getting ahead of our youngsters because they're getting experience, and we're not getting that. And if finals is out of the question after this week, I want to see all those players come in and I want to see them get a run, because there's no point playing Armitage, in round 19 when we're 3 games out from the end of the season and there's no chance of finals. There's absolutely no point unless it's a farewell game. There's no point. Let me go through some of these comments, see what you guys are thinking, and we'll keep the chat going. Darren says, time to respond. Tanya says, I want answers. Why is Nunes and Ross still in? Ross was never going to get dropped. He's a senior head. He's one of the rare players to actually get his hands on the ball. He just can't use it. Nunes, on the other hand, extremely lucky if he doesn't get dropped. It's an extended bench. 4 of the bench get cut tomorrow, 5 p.m. tomorrow, so I'll post the team then. Michael says, do you think Rowe is fast enough for the Saints? Well, based on last week, anyone would be fast enough, and I don't know if he's fast enough to play against Richmond is the question, but it'll be his 200th game when he plays, so good on him. First game for the Saints, 200th. I think he just adds a little bit of experience in that back line, especially if we lose Marsh. Carlisle's still coming back, but if we have, Rowe, Battle, and Carlisle, although I've heard rumours that maybe Battle might go forward. You don't know. Maybe we might swing Battle forward. As my brother pointed out, Armo and Nunes are listed on the bench, so they could still be dropped. That's a great point, Bryce. So fingers crossed that happens, because I don't hate the guys, if that's what you guys are thinking. I just think for the team, they're not performing. They need to find form, particularly Nunes. Go back to Sandringham. We dropped Jack Billings, for fuck's sake. You can drop Jack Nunes. Nathan Brown not in is a surprise, so it looks like Rowe is getting picked there. I don't know if he's got an issue. Jason says Saints at the moment don't have the ticket to put on a good show. Hopefully Matters Match gives us that energy, and Rewalt was down today talking to the boys, so hopefully he gives them some sort of inspiration and gets the energy going. Charlie says Sinclair, Nunes, Ross should have been dropped. Richo is cooked, never going to win a flag with this lot. Robert Harvey, coach next year, says Michael, that'd be nice. Julia says, can't really play more young players, i.e. Caulfield, Langlands. We are far too inexperienced already. We either throw the season and play youngsters or keep playing Nunes, Admirals, etc. and try and win. Patton over Nunes, it doesn't matter our experience. He's a better player. That's all I'm thinking about. Even though they're inexperienced, I still think he's a better player. Xavier says, we will lose. I'm betting my house on it. I'll read the prediction from the AFL website, but it's not kind for us, trust me. Which players are in the extended squad get in? I haven't read that. Extended squad. Jack Steele would be nice. I mean, Jack Steele and Ben Patton would be great, but I'm having a feeling that it's going to be either one or the other, and then a tall backman like Rowe. Edra says, just want to change in how we play. Praz says Jack Nunes, Seb Ross, and David Armitage should be dropped. Luke says we seem to match up against Richmond very well. I think it's because they don't use the ball that well themselves. They like to play in contested ball around packs on the ground. That's where I think we do the best work. So hopefully that's kind of the scrappy game that we want, because then we can get into that pressure game again, and we can win off the back of that. But playing against teams that execute, like the Hawthorns, the West Coast, the Brisbanes last week, we just can't get our hands on the ball. Evan, if Nunes and Armo play, it will be Richo's final call. Harrison finals team, we won't be playing finals for five plus years. That's a bad call. Harrison, 5 years is a long time. Brisbane 2 years ago had won the wooden spoon, and now look at them. So there's a big difference in that. It's structure, it's coaching. It's not always just the cattle on the pitch. Jason says Richo's coaching for his career, hence Nunes and Armitage haven't been dropped. Joe says, we members and supporters are sick and tired of excuses. All we want from this playing group is to play 4 solid quarters of football. Joel says, why is Ross and Nunes playing? I'm so angry. Press says, good feedback. Thanks for that. Fran says, can't drop too many. We just don't have the depth. Need a new system, maybe. Mitchell says, need a new forward line set up instead of booting it in. Reckon Nunes would want to buy a lotto ticket, says Razor. Geordie says you've got to play these young kids at some point, and they've got to get the experience. Jake Jones says Brown and Carlisle together would be nice. I agree with that. They've worked well together before, so I don't see why we have to change anything there. Vince says, your thoughts on Richard and Brad Scott. Would Ratton be our go-to if needed? I think so. And if you look at it, the benefit is Ratton has coached at St Kilda for half a season, so he knows these players. A new coach like Scott comes in, he needs that 6 to 12 weeks to get used to who he wants to pick and the style he wants to play. The benefit of Ratton is he's already identified. He probably knows already if he was coach, Nunes won't be playing. He already has his decisions if he was head coach. How long before Jack Stephen comes in, says Brad Byrne, or Bourne. Apparently he trained with the full group today, like Jack Steele, and looked very good and very fit. So I'd say he's closer than we think. Joe says, if we do lose, how about 5 players front the media after the game, tell us what happened? Not Richo. That'd be great. But also, did anyone go to the game last week? And we lost badly. And literally right as the siren went, and after the Brisbane music finished, they had the Saints cam on Jack Billings and they interviewed him. I can't stand. Billings is saying, oh, yeah, it wasn't sorry about that. Oh, that was a bad performance. No, I know they're obligated to do that, but that's a terrible decision by the club. If we lose by over 50 points, don't interview the players after the game. I want the players to be pissed off, angry at each other, and marching off the ground quickly because they're embarrassed of that performance, not put on an interview. I don't think that's right. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I felt that really weird, and I'm like, this is embarrassing. We've just copped it. Our fans are angry, and you're doing an interview just saying, oh, yeah, it was a bad performance, and then walks off. I think it's a bad call. Price says also, I think we should give Richo till the end of the year, then structure a new coach into it, phase them in. All the outside talk is Scott to coach. I know, and I don't like it. I'll leave it on this. Geordie Campbell says, your predictions on this game? I don't know. It depends on what St Kilda turn up. I honestly don't know. I want it to be a close game, but for some reason I feel like we're going to come out guns blazing, play well for a half, and then fall away. But the heart, my heart's telling me that we're going to play well and we're going to pinch a win, and it's going to be really bittersweet because we could have done it last week and we could have been 8-6 or whatever going into 8-7 going into the North Melbourne game, but we're now 6-7. Season's still alive, so don't give up on that. But we really desperately need to try something different. I don't want to see bombing. I don't want to see this rushing football. I know it's probably just instructions from the coaches, but that needs to be tweaked. They have an entire week every week to change it, to try something different. The definition of insanity is to try something the same way every time and think you're going to get a different result. That's not going to happen. Bombing it is going to be the result every time. There's no different. One week it might work and we might mark more than other weeks, but generally speaking, it's not going to work. So I'm hoping to see something different this week. And that's the excitement I get from going to the games now is not so much the excitement because I know we're going to win, because that's not the case. It's the excitement that I think that maybe this is the game that we turn around, that in a year's time we're thinking, shit, remember that game against Richmond? That set us up for this great run. And 2 years ago, we thought that was the case. When we smashed them, it didn't happen. But that loss set Richmond up. So hopefully the Brisbane loss to us last week sets us up in a way, or wakes us up out of this slumber, because it was embarrassing, especially because it was at home. And we're getting hard enough crowds there as it is, small enough crowds. So, hopefully Matty's match pulls 40,000. A lot of Richmond fans will turn out, that's for sure. They always do. But yeah, my prediction is it's going to be close, but I just hope our execution doesn't let us down again. Anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. Bit of a ranty sort of one, but it's been a tough week, I think, for all of us, and I think you guys agree with me. But, I am excited to go on Sunday, and I'm really keen to see a response from the guys. So keep the comments coming. I'll respond when I can. Like the video, share them to your Saints fans, and I'll see you after the game on Sunday. Go Saints.